So this came from actually the gentleman whose profile picture has two kids jumping all over him. His name is Mark, and he's a membership specialist out of for Plymouth Canton. And he was talking about the surveys that he's got from our volunteers in the past about how sometimes our volunteers just want to connect with each other. And over the last year, we've had new leaders come in at one of the craziest times to be a new leader, or even the last 2 years. And I wanted to give, we wanted to give a space for newer leaders to connect with some veteran leaders to just bounce some ideas off each other. And Amanda, I know you're a first year leader, correct? And in this session will be, need some participation in it. Helen, I'm going to guess that you are a veteran leader. Is that correct?
You'd have to count. I think this is my 3rd year.
Your 3rd year. Okay, I'm going to start putting how many years you've been a leader in front of your name, just so we can kind of all keep tabs. And Amanda, is this just 1 year, or have you been with us for 2 years? 1 year?
I started September 2020 because there were no Daisy troops for my daughter. So they said, you be the leader or no troop. And I said, okay.
That's how it happens sometimes. Cynthia, how long have you been with GSHOM?
GSHOM, 7 years, I think.
Okay.
I was a leader before that a couple times now in different areas of Michigan.
So I'm going to put you down just for 7, but we're going to look at you as lots of wisdom. Is that fair?
I hope so.
6 years. Thanks, April. Becky, how long have you been a leader or a volunteer in any capacity?
I've been a leader for, 8 years.
8 years. Awesome. Barb, 10 years, but starting your 2nd year here. Okay. And Casey is a staff member. So is that, yep, 4 rows of 3. Perfect. So Amanda is on one end of the spectrum of newbie, and then we have Cynthia and Barbara on the other end of the spectrum, and we have Helen and Becky and April kind of in the middle. And so I guess I'm just gonna start with just some questions just for conversation starters. And Becky, what's one thing that you wish someone would have told you your 1st or 2nd year of being a Girl Scout leader?
I'm not real sure. I guess probably how much time it really actually takes as opposed to what they say, like 1 hour a week. It's definitely not that.
I don't know who told you 1 hour a week, but I'm so sorry that someone told you just 1 hour a week.
Yeah.
I don't like when anyone puts any time limits on anything. Barbara, what's something you wish someone would have told you your 1st or 2nd year volunteering with Girl Scouts?
Some of the, for example, like the Jubilee is coming up and everybody's talking about it, but I don't know what it is. So a lot of times there's things that are being said or they're making abbreviations and going on like everybody knows, and you're kind of going, well, I haven't a clue. And sometimes you're not able to ask because you don't want it to be all about you in a big meeting. You know what I mean? So I wish there was a group that could say, oh, that's what that means. Oh, that's, as you're going along.
Cynthia, what's
I'm that person that would ask in the meeting. If I don't know, I'm like, newbie, what does that mean? I don't know what you're talking about.
That is awesome, Amanda. And I hope you never lose that. And I hope as new leaders come into your service unit, you tell them, raise your hand. Ask questions. Cynthia,
or if I know, I'll say, for the people that don't know, what might that be?
Yeah.
So can someone, before we move forward, can someone share what a Jubilee is?
It's a celebration of Girl Scouts. that only happens every couple of years.
Yes. Yeah, it's just this big Girl Scout party. It's just a big Girl Scout party. We right.
Cool.
And actually, we're going to be having ours this year. And if you got a bag, if you signed up in time to get a bag, you got an invite for it. It'll be at Chelsea Fairgrounds, and I want to say it's in October, but I could be wrong. It's in
It's
November.
November 5th through the 7th. But
Yeah,
that's
it's in
also
November.
volunteer boot camp at Camp Marywood. So I don't know if that was done on purpose or if they realized it, but it might greatly impact the Marywood volunteer boot camp. I'm going on a cruise that weekend, so I will not be here.
Are you going on a
I don't
Disney
think it's the
cruise?
same weekend as boot camp.
In the last one about camp, they said that the Girl Scout Camp Marywood one was November 5th through 7th too.
Yeah, it is, but the Jubilee is not that weekend.
The Jubilee thing that I have is November 13th from my little packet.
Yep.
on the
Heidi, I'm so glad you made it. Heidi, I know that I've been around as long as you've been a Girl Scout leader, but can you let all the folks with us let us know how long you've been a leader? Whether it's
Yeah, sorry, my daughter's practicing violin.
it's okay.
I've actually been a leader only for a couple years, I think, but I've been a parent volunteer for 5 years. Well,
Yeah. I
5
think you've been a
years
leader for-
total.
I think you've been a leader for all 4 years I've been here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I joined. Yeah, this would be my 4th year as a leader because I started leading as a brownie.
Yep.
Leader. Yeah, so this would be my 4th year as a leader.
Let's see, who else have I called on? Cynthia, what's something you wish you would have been told when you were starting out as a volunteer?
More how to figure out my own style. That there's some people that will go to the Jubilee and some people that won't, and it's okay to do either. And how to navigate that with all the paperwork and with everything else that we do and having the meetings and planning for everything, but finding your own style that fits you and not trying to keep up with everything.
I think that's a huge takeaway, that it
Yeah.
is your troop will form the way your troop is supposed to form. Amanda, what are some of the I understand that probably the pandemic has been a giant hurdle. So I'm gonna let's pretend for a moment that maybe the pandemic wasn't here. What are some other things that you have come across so far this year that you might be looking for some words of wisdom that you might be able to get from a group of tenured volunteers that you have access to here?
Yeah, I have a few questions. So my first is the bank account. So right now I have a group of 5 girls. 3 joined after November, so didn't get to do treats and reads. So I just want to know what a healthy bank account is. We're right about $1,000 right now, with where we're at. So we just want to make sure that we have enough, but not too much, and getting in trouble tax wise.
I can answer. One of the nice things about being with Girl Scouts and your Girl Scout account is actually under the umbrella of our nonprofit status as a Girl Scout organization, nonprofit. And so you don't have to worry about tax wise, because your if your Girl Scout account is set up through our council, the way, like when we give the permission forms, you don't have to worry about doing tax forms and things like that on your troop account. Okay. Anyone want to share about troop account balances and maybe what those have looked like for you over the years?
We're actually,
Go ahead.
sorry. I was say we're actually carrying a higher balance because the girls couldn't do their activities that they had planned in 2020. So it makes me more nervous. but we're doing the activities this year. So it's all like, right, it's held. We know what we were spending. We're going to spend it this year, but it's different than previous years. But I'd be curious to hear too, what people like, what's normal for, especially as they start to get older, like what's normal to have for the troop account.
And I was always taught to use what we have on the year that the girls were there back in 2 other councils. And yet you can save for long-term goals and other goals and set those as saying that that's what you're doing, but that you really need to use the money and not hold it so that you're spending it on the council activities, doing your own activity that you invite other troops for, using that money for the girls to enrich their Girl Scouting experience the year that they're in it, or that next year, depending on when cookie season is and when you get your bulk of your money, so that the girls that raised it are benefiting from it.
I agree totally. That's how I learned, and in other councils the same way, so that girl, you know, she may not be there 3 years later, and they do know ahead of time that it's troop money. It's not cash to them, and it's to be used for Girl Scout events. But it's always best that way. The girls they stay engaged. Oh, we got to do something this year. Unless you are planning a huge trip and all your money is going towards that, which things change for everybody every year. So you'd think you'd want to spend some money each year on them at some events. And it's always worked for me.
Yeah, we follow a similar thing. Like when we worked on our money badges, we kind of adopt that, percentage that we're saving, a percentage that, we're spending, and the percentage that we're donating. And, I think that's kind of worked well for us. And we also, as a leader, I try to be mindful of the economics of different families. And so I try to motivate the girls that if there's like a trip or thing that they want to do, that when they're working treats and reads or with the cookie program, that we're spending like what they've earned. And at these younger ages, it's more gratifying for them to have the reward at the, like not last year. Was it last year? No. The last cookie season that we had before the pandemic, like we actually went to a local theater that was doing a program about the female programmer that helped launch the rocket to the moon. And I'm so glad we did it before the end of the cookie season, because pretty much things started shutting down right away. And I think like if we had waited, then like it probably wouldn't resonate like all the hard, like, because we had done lots of cookie booths. We started really early that year, so it was a great kind of reward. And as people mentioned too, as girls start to leave or move between troops, knowing like that what will you do with the money and where does it go. So like this year when we didn't do activities, we used the money to pay for everyone's membership renewals.
I have a follow-up. First of all, my girls just wanted that pony last year. So that was their reward. Like they didn't even realize they were making money from cookie sales. They just wanted that horse or treats and read sales. But I did have a follow-up because you had mentioned the economic status of the girls. So I have one parent who has 6 kids, 5 girls, all girls are in Girl Scouts and their family is not close by. So they're like, I'm not selling anything. I will just give you money whenever you want money for whatever we're doing. But my other 4 girls are working their behinds off individually selling. And the girl that the mom was like, I'll just pay for everything. She does come to booths, but not the individual sales. So how would you handle that case if the troop was paying for everything? Because I have 4 girls that are doing a lot individually, and then 1 that isn't because it's just not, they don't have people.
I always have a large diverse group and yes, again, last year, almost every year, some girls do not sell as easily, like they don't have people here. I had one year that the family came from New York, so they didn't know people here. They did sell a few online, but then I hope that they come to the booths. As long as our troop as a whole makes their goal, then the girls' individual goal is less important than the troop goal. So then they know that they're giving to the whole group. And so then we spend the money for the whole group. We wouldn't say these ones have to pay $10 for this and the troop pays the rest. But we usually do events that the parents promise a little bit of money so that they're setting up their permission slip and giving us a little bit of money for the event, saying, yes, that scout is going to go. And then the rest is paid out of the troop funds, if that's how the girls have set that up. So sometimes half and half, sometimes even less. And with economics right now, it's usually a lot less because I know it's hard on everyone.
Yeah, my troop, yeah, I was mentioning earlier, they picked the Zoo Snooze. We had to wait to the summer for it, so they didn't get to go. And then this year, the same thing happened. They picked an event in the Source that got canceled. But they took the same amount of money. So like we pick our goal at the beginning of the year and they work towards, as a troop average, earning towards that goal because everybody contributes and it goes towards their trips. And then what we do with the extra money is any other, like we've paid memberships the past couple of years, and we have some of the other badge field trips that if they, because they overachieved on their goal. So the overachieved amount we put towards badge field trips. So then and other field trips. So they haven't had to, like we did a Girl Scout day camp. Their horseback riding badge field trip is getting paid for. So that's where that money is going. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, I did carry, I carried the Zoo Snooze money over. And I did offer it up. I have two that are, well, one is not renewing this year. One may or may not, out of my 12 girls. And I included both of them in the Zoo Snooze because they were part of earning that money and going, and we'll be doing it in September, which is technically part of this year anyways. So they're technically really, right, still in the troop. So I was lucky that it's the same kids that are in the money, even though it's like a couple of years later. But yeah, it's, on the money piece, and to your other question, I have one that participates in only one of the product programs. And what I've always done, I don't know if it's good or not good, but as long as they participate and they know up front that the money raised is going for the entire troop, I'm okay with that. Whether it be booths, they make an effort to participate, whether it be booths or if it's just cookies and not treats and reads. Everybody knows up front. Thankfully, I haven't had the situation where one didn't participate like at all, like not a nothing. I haven't had to deal with that yet. But I think I think we'd have to have that discussion if that were to happen. But I understand when they get older and they start doing the bigger trips, it starts to become more of a troop decision then, right? Like, so once they start hitting cadets and up, it's a troop decision if that money's still split across the entire troop or for a bigger trip if you end up with different I don't know what they're called, not accounts, but different girl
Buckets.
categories. Yeah,
we do that as with the cadets, and we're starting to do that. Of course, with the pandemic, it slowed things down, but so that if it's an over and beyond booth and not the troop booths, and the parents are doing those more on their own, and they're the additional bonus boosts, then that money can be set aside in our account for that girl for particular extra activities and the bigger trips and like that to help out. So that there are additional ways for them to have a little bit more say so into what they are able to do. You know, when you get families that have 3 and 4 and 5 kids in there, it's hard on them financially. And so they need their kids to step up and do some extra things to help cover the expenses. So we as a troop felt responsible to help them be able to keep all their girls in the troop.
Who's gonna share, and, you know, if you're looking to keep your finances for your troop more like simplified, and you have that where you're looking for, you have a girl that, I mean, I can speak to my own daughter. She's, you know, in our own troop and they're high school age and they do a lot of different activities, but she also on her own, and her and one of the other girls participate also in the Mackinac Honor Guard. And so that we are, you know, supporting them with their money for their uniform and the cost for Honor Guard. You can coordinate with our product program and in our council so that they do their separate money earning boosts, and the proceeds from those specific sales go to them directly instead of through to the troop. It can go on like a cookie cash card or, you know, that kind of, you know, instead. So then that way it's, you know, if you're not trying to balance your own troop, your troop account and all these sub accounts for each of the girls, you know, we can help you with that. So.
But, and then, you know, just to reiterate though, while the girls are small, Amanda, kind of going back to that very first question, that I'm so thankful for this type of conversation where I get to have volunteers such as all of you be able to answer questions. But just to reiterate, Amanda, while your girls are little, any money that comes in is always troop funds. You know, when we start talking about these divided buckets, it's older girls, it is planning. You meet with your membership person to kind of make sure that everything looks the right way and we're planning the right types of trips. So when you have that girl who might not be selling individually, maybe comes to a booth, you know, she's still getting her fair share slice of that pie. And
but we made everything real simple. As long as they came to booths, we split it across all 5, because we had a few that like Walmart was like only 3 people, and we're like, well, we can't have all of our girls there, so we just took the cookies and divided it by 5. So we are real about simple life. So
and
it's
that's
all
where the
the
differentiation of that comes with their rewards, you know, how they get to earn the more booth rewards or whatever. So that's an awesome question. I'm so glad you brought that up. And I know if you have that question, that even though we cover so much in training, that those are the things that we need to remember to continue hitting on for our newer leaders. And I'm so glad you came with a list. This makes me so happy. So keep going. Oh, what you got, Connie?
Oh, I would like to pitch in that one of the things that I've seen, because my name is Connie, I'm the Chief Membership Officer, but one of the things I've seen over my long history and having 4 girls and Girl Scouts is, as a volunteer, sometimes a girl who doesn't sell or come to booths, sometimes it's almost better that way, because sometimes the family figures out that they get in trouble when they sell product and get the money, and then they end up owing it, and then they have, you know, sometimes people make bad decisions, and sometimes they decide, I'm never doing that again. I'm never putting myself in that spot. And I wouldn't want a girl not to be able to participate if a parent was making that decision, not out of any not wanting to support, but knowing that it's going to be a problem for them. And eventually, if the leader pushes it, it could end up being a problem for you too. You know, then you have an outstanding money report, and then, you know, sometimes the family knows best, and they just can't do it that way. So I like to see all sides of girls and the opportunities and make sure that they're all able to participate. So, try to be, let's try to be kind to our Girl Scout sisters and think about that maybe some girls and some families don't have the same situation as the rest of you. And it just might be a financial decision that they just, they're just not able to do that. So
Yeah, mine is more the mom has already said, like, I'll just pay, tell me what to pay. So she is like more than happy, more than willing to give us money for these things, where the others are like, I can't. I grew up financially very poor, and if my Girl Scout leader didn't cover me on a whole lot of stuff, I wouldn't have done anything. So it would never be the other side where they're not participating and they don't have money to just give, that I would be like, you can't do whatever. But
I just wanted to remind us all.
But I go, oh yeah,
because sometimes you don't know what's going on in that family.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I could understand having 5 kids. Could you imagine, who does grandma's cookies go to? Right? Like, how do you?
And they have cousins, so.
Yeah, exactly.
My next question right now, I have the 4 best parents on the whole planet, so not a problem yet, knock on wood.
Cynthia says she does.
What do you do?
You're already way ahead of everybody.
What do you do if you get
Yes,
a parent that's
exactly.
real crabby? Like my mom's, they're like a little group. They come to the meetings, they sit off by themselves, they chat. When we went camping, they were doing their own thing and like, but helping whenever I need. They're wonderful, but I'm very afraid of a bad parent.
Use them.
Not a bad parent, a
Difficult parent.
special
Yes.
parent.
Yes. Utilize your parents. That is probably my biggest piece of advice, is use the good ones and understand that you may have some that aren't great, and that's okay, because it's not about the parent, it's about the girl. But engage those parents that are willing to help and let them help you. Let them help you. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah,
Don't do it alone.
We had a parent, we had lots of parents that were great, and we had one that she wasn't so great. And she would like to volunteer for things. So we just stopped asking the parents all as a group to volunteer for stuff. We would go to specific parents and ask them if they could drive or whatever.
I have one mom, the six kid mom. She has one of those giant 15 passenger vans. So when COVID restrictions lift, like right now, we can even all drive together. Once COVID restrictions lift, and she's like, I'll drive anywhere. What do you mean?
That is cool.
You're beautiful.
That's
That
awesome.
is cool.
So I have to share, I learned one of the best things of advice I got was from my co-leader that I actually started taking over from now. She was like, how you start it is how it's going to go with your parents. So think about what you want from your parents. And one of the things that had previously happened in our troop was she would set a deadline for an event, to sign up for an event. And then there'd be some parents that would always push the deadline. And then she wouldn't sign up. And what happened was, because she was waiting for that parent, she'd already collected money, field trip forms, everything else. She goes to sign up and the event is full. Can't go anymore. So all those people that were on time getting their stuff in couldn't go because of the one parent that was late. And that happened a few times. And so that's why she told me what she did. And so and I don't know if anybody else has that issue, but I started, here's the deadline. I need to know if you're going. Everybody who tells me if you're going by this date, and I have your forms, and if there's a fee or if there's not a fee, but I have to have your forms. On that date, I'll sign up the list of people I have. After that date, I sign you up as I receive it within 24 hours, because I work too. So I can't like receive it and just go and sign it up. I'm at work, right? So I said, if you send it to me after that date, within 24 hours of seeing your email, I will sign your kid up, and I will do that until the spots are full. And that seems to have worked and actually caused, I did have one that was late, but it caused on some other times they were more careful about getting their stuff in right away.
I find that if you don't give out specific information, and this is, it seems bad, but you get some parents that are great, they respond immediately, and they do, they miss out because you're waiting on somebody else. So you might, you know, give them a deadline of, the deadline really is 2 weeks next in 2 weeks, but you want it 2 weeks before that so that you're in time and you get it all set. And also you have to work with some people because it's hard to feel that the child is the one that's missing out when it's younger kids, because it's the mom that has to do the getting to you. And we knew one mom, and it was a big joke amongst all the parents and everything. And I just always included her because she always went, but the mom never, ever could get anything in time for it. Okay. And we hated her to miss out the scout, but we worked around it, you know, for her. And sometimes you do have to work around things to make things smooth out, you know, but sometimes you're not able to. Sometimes you're just not able to, because every time you have a group, you have scouts moving in and moving out, and you have some moms that are great. And you know what? Sometimes that mom might not be great next year, only because they have something going on too. So if they were great the year before, I take that as a thank you for that year, you know, and I don't take it against them the next year. You know? I just say, oh, someone else's turn to step in for this year. So it's a hard thing to work with. It's balance and how you present it. Someone said.
I have cadets, seniors, and ambassadors, and so my girls have been around since first grade, and so we know what parents are going to lay. So we just reach out to them. We just send a follow up. We just ask them, "Hey, is your daughter going with us or not?" I mean, sometimes they just need a reminder because they forget to. They're human.
Yep.
You know, the repeat offenders after spending
Yep.
10 years with them.
Yep.
We have a group text, so we they see each other responding, and that usually
Every
gets them
year,
responding quickly.
time at our ceremonies to thank the parents. The scouts will make them something, hand them something. It isn't just the parent, it isn't just the scout. We need those parents to bring those girls, to want them to participate. And so, yes, we do like to call them best parents ever.
Katie, I'm gonna pick on you. And I'm sorry, but welcome to Girl Scouting. So Acadia just came in and I asked her in a direct message how long she has been with us, and she said she just signed up to be a volunteer this week. So I'm so excited. I love this so much, and she's going to be on IPSY. So Acadia, I'm what's called your team leader. So we'll get to know each other along with some of your other staff named Janice, and we'll have another new teammate joining us. But if I wondered if any volunteers here would share maybe one reason why they've renewed their membership every year to keep coming back to Girl Scouting as a leader.
Well, I guess I'll kick it off because it just popped into my head. It's so amazing watching the girls grow and develop as leaders, and you can see them blossom. I think it's a safe place for them to go. Everybody's very respectful. It's inclusive. They can be who they are and be accepted for who they are. And it's just, but for me, coming back every year is just watching them to continue to develop their leadership skills. And it happens without you purposely doing it, but like you're purposely thinking about, you know, the badges, about having them think through stuff, make decisions, be creative. But as you do those things, it develops. It's just so cool.
Heidi, I'm going to remember this until your girls are graduating. So I'm going to hold you to that.
It's absolutely, they're like your own child. That's how proud you are of each and every one of them and their accomplishments, especially if you've been with them for a few years. And you remember when they first joined and they weren't going to talk to you or to anyone at all whatsoever. They were just going to sit there because mom said, you need to do this. And 2 to 3 years later, all of a sudden you're seeing this girl, you know, volunteering and raising her hand and wanting to, and then going to show the next girl, oh, you can do this. There's no better feeling. There's no better feeling than that.
I always think it's because I want to empower girls, but I think it's also I want to show girls different other girls because maybe I hung out with boys more or something, but I think that women are so diverse, and if we don't know them, we don't understand them, and so sometimes they're not our group of friends. And I like that my scouts aren't all the best friends. What they are is they're security nets all around the schools as they grow up and they see each other. I mean, some are friends, but some aren't, but they're all their security net of knowing a different diverse type of girl inside the school that I might know on this team or in this club and not in this one. But maybe they never would have met that kind of girl if it wasn't for Girl Scouts. And I think that gives them the ability to talk to other women as they get older that they wouldn't have been able to talk to and not just hang out with.
100%. I see that in my own high school age troop that I have a high school age troop of about 12 girls, and they are very diverse in their interests, and it's great when they come together. They're a support system for each other, and yet they all have I mean, we have the athletes that are in every sport, we have the theater, we have those that want to be in, just they're very diverse. So it's but it's great because you're right, they when you see them in a moment of need or support, they're there for each other, they support each other, and it's a pretty powerful thing to see.
I think for me, I started because, my daughter needed a leader as a brownie. And it's actually, sometimes I think it's been more rewarding for me than for her, although she's grown leaps and bounds in the 5 years I've been the leader. But, I told her that even if she decided she was done, I don't think I could be done, because I've grown as an adult.
Well, remember this, April.
Yeah, well, no, I told her that from like year 2. Not that I think she's going anywhere. She loves Scouts, but I've grown as a person and in our service area, and just I think some of it even just personally. So it's a passion at this point of mine. So I don't know how I could turn away from it unless something physical took me from it.
Yes, April, I have done it both ways with my child in Scouts. I have done it without any kids in Scouts, and now I'm doing it with my grandkids. So remember, when you think that you have to stop, don't stop.
I don't even have a daughter. I have a son who's in Boy Scouts, but I was in Girl Scouts when I was 2nd through 12th grade. So it's very rewarding, and I like to share those experiences with the girls that I got to experience when I was in Scouts. So, and it is amazing to watch those kids grow in their confidence. We had a girl that she signed up. Our troop started with 1st grade daisies, and the first sign up meeting, she was hiding behind her mom. She wouldn't participate in anything. She wouldn't color or anything. And the 5th grade school concert, she was up there speaking in front of the whole auditorium. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you all that went on without a girl or don't have a girl in Girl Scouts, because my troop folded when I was we had just walked the Mackinac Bridge to become a cadet. And then the Girl Scout leader's granddaughter was like, I'm done, because middle school, and it wasn't cool anymore. And so she's like, all right, I'm done too. And Girl Scouts was done. So
Yeah,
I appreciate you all. I did have another question, especially for you all that have had longer running troops. So my girls, because there are so few of them, they are a unit. They're like, make groups. And I was like, cool, there's 5, 2 groups. So they just do everything as a little unit, but they're going into first grade next year. And I already know I've had a few parents who have reached out and are like, my daughter's kind of thinking about it. So I know I'm going to have more girls joining. How do you incorporate them into that little unit that's been for the entire year, with the new girls coming in?
Icebreakers are great. And especially when they're little, there's all kinds of fun little icebreakers. And if you do get to be bigger, doing random draws, like when it comes to you having to split them, don't split them the same way every time. You can do something as simple as, cards, and you've got this suit and that suit, or these numbers and this number. If you're an even number, you're in this group, odd number in that group, because then it mixes it up and they have to get to know each other. And then more than likely they'll end up becoming a big unit, and then you'll have some little subunits that, depending on what activity, you'll know who they gravitate towards. And then sometimes you'll be like, okay, I know this little group works well together, and this one, sometimes you let them get their way, but other times, just the more random you can be, sometimes the better, especially if you do that from the beginning. Then they're used to, oh, well, we never know who we're going to get paired with today.
Especially with daisies. With daisies, it's so many of the petals are about friendships and getting to know everybody, and everybody's a friend, everybody's a sister scout. And so most of your badges gear towards that. So that helps a lot. When they get to be older is when you got to start working with, if you have 5 and only 3 hooked together, and then you've got these 2 that don't, that's when you have to be creative, working with them, knowing how they, a little bit more about them to make them, to help them blend, not make them.
I totally agree. We're getting to that point. We're 7th graders this year, and we're seeing, we were starting to see that when they were in 5th grade. And then, last year it was pretty much a wash because we couldn't meet in person as graders. But I'm sure this year we're going to see more of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And speaking of just having those 5 girls, Amanda, I want to commend you for starting a troop during the pandemic. And Acadia, I want to commend you for starting a troop right when we're coming back to the world opened up. And Amanda, just remember that we have a whole bunch of first graders out there who did not get to have Girl Scouting last year. Right. And while probably 5 girls has been fun and it was, a good way to start, it's going to be so much more fun when you open that troop and you have 12, maybe 14, especially if you have really great moms who want to help you. And they're going to help you lead and help you be co-leaders. And when you open that troop and you have more girls coming in and you're helping give them that experience of Girl Scouting, that's going to be amazing too. And those 5 girls to make friends that were already Girl Scouts and come on in, and other first grader friends. And when we can open up these troops to give girls the joy of Girl Scouting, we're going to set ourselves up for our girls to have a great comeback year. And just, it's going to be so wonderful to have our troops open and more girls who join us by leaders like you doing the hard work so we could be set up to give them this gift of Girl Scouting after a really tough year.
I'm almost a little bit afraid that we're going to go from 5 to like 30 because I know
not give
so
you
many first grade moms who are like, my kids haven't done anything and they were virtual all last year. So go. And I'm like, oh.
What we'll do is we'll help start another troop at your school. So we have 2 troops of 15. Deal?
Yeah. Oh.
Or 14 and 16. We like even numbers for the buddy system.
Yes, 5 is so hard because I'm like, buddy up and you're a group of 3.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna throw it out that, Becky and I have troops in the same area and they're the same age. And so while you're doing stuff with your own troop, it's still fun. Like we get our troops together and do stuff because they're the same age, and we have like what we plan, or well, our girls plan it, but we have buddy camp and we have, and the whole thing, like you said, they pair up together. My favorite memory of one of them is we get to camp and they're having lunch and the girls are like, there's not enough places to sit. I can't sit next to my friend. And so then we did like a sorting because they decided on a Survivor theme and they all had to pull different color buffs. They had all their like bandanas and then they had to separate and to these groups of girls that they didn't really know. And they had to, you know, get to know each other. And then the next meal, there wasn't any problem. They were all sitting mixed up with each other and socializing and having a great time. And the more you do that, and that is just that regular bit of that they're sharing with each other, they're getting to know each other. It's, you know, girls join in the troop and you're like, oh, we have a new girl joining in. And it's like 1 to 2 meetings later. And it feels like that girl's been there the whole time. You know, it's, you know, they,
Like you just showed up. I feel like you've been around forever.
right.
Yeah, I have a question. Like you're talking, I'd be curious about the meetings for the ones that have been in a longer time. Do you change the length or the frequency of your meetings as your girls get older?
We
Yeah,
have a CSA troop, which is cadets, seniors and ambassadors, and we only meet once a month for 3 hours. And it works out great.
We meet
If
twice a
you-
month for 2 hours.
Yeah,
mean-
because, and you do have to keep the meeting going, okay? But they are so much busier when they get to, especially in the high school, the senior and ambassadors, that if they know it ahead in advance, and they also do their own badges, they present them. So if they know in advance what month they're going to do it, and if they can't, they switch amongst each other, okay? And they do a lot of catch up on badge work on their own. So yes, there is scheduling so that you still have girls in scouting, okay? The one thing is they may not make every meeting, but boy, they make every Christmas party and they seem to make every camp trip. So, you know, we don't hold during the year meetings against them, you know, if they don't make it, but mostly they do. If I find only, if they miss, it's only 1 or 2, you know, last year, of course, we went to all of them because of Zoom.
Yeah, because that's what I'm starting to run up against right now is as the daisies and brownies, it wasn't an issue.
Right.
Now that, well, I have 2nd year juniors and it's really hard during the week around scheduling. So that's why I was curious about what other people were doing.
We even do it on Saturdays.
When our girls were daisies, we met for an hour. And then I think when they were juniors, we switched to an hour and a half so that they could get more badge work stuff done during the meetings.
Mhm.
We've met on Wednesday nights since we started.
But that's why there's different troops meeting on different dates.
Yep.
You
Yep,
pick
and we've,
your day doesn't work for them, then, you know, with their schedule, depends on what sport they're in and what they're doing, and they get so busy. So, yeah, we've done the hour for daisies and, you know, hour and a half for brownie juniors, depending on if the brownies are the olders. And then cadets, it can range. I mean, right now we're looking at switching to like twice a month, you know, for a couple hours or something, but yeah.
yeah, we check in every year before we plan like the day we're gonna meet. Thankfully, the first last 5 years, we've been able to meet on Tuesdays, but this year it was like, okay, the girls are actually gonna be able to do sports this year because they can actually go to school. So what are the schedules? And we posted that out there, and actually looks like Tuesdays are still gonna work, but you know, we might have to look at the different times, like how long are we gonna meet? With them being cadets, some of the stuff might take longer. Or shorter because they have limited availability in their schedules.
Our cadet senior ambassador troop meets for 2 hours every Wednesday night. It takes longer for them to get their stuff done. And since they're doing, you know, 98% of their planning for their stuff, that takes longer as well. Because of course they also need time to chat and just socialize with their friends.
I know when I was a senior Girl Scout before I had ambassadors, we did a whole Sunday once a month because we needed a
Mhm.
morning to chit chat and have lunch and breakfast in the afternoon to do badge work or planning. So I want to thank all of you so much. I love these networking sessions. Yes, Acadia. How do you manage troop communications? Email, Facebook groups, announcements and polls. So would anyone like to speak to how they communicate with their parents with best practices?
Yes, all of those.
Everything you can do, anything you can think of.
Yes, and the longer you are with the same group or majority of the same group, you'll learn which way works for each parent. Because there's some that don't do Facebook. There's some that don't do email. I try to do a Facebook post and copy and paste that and put it in an email. And then I do have a couple that it's like, if I really want them to know, I have to text them because they're not the most prompt at looking at some of that stuff. But we've tried band, we've tried just Facebook, we've tried just email, and that is not a one size fits all. So you'll just have to see what works for your group of your families that are in your group.
And it does. It's like
I'm
it's still, you have to work hard at it as a leader. That's one thing that I really wish we could get a parent to step up, or for them to understand that that's adding on my workload, is to try to get a hold of you. But it's the way it is.
Yeah, I just said it's ditto. It's I actually had a parent, because we'll post, we created a private troop page on Facebook.
Yep.
We will post pictures from our events on that troop page, so that way it can share with all the parents the pictures, and it's just the parents that get it. But I finally had one parent sign up to Facebook just to join the private Facebook group, because there's no way my rural internet couldn't handle forwarding pictures and couldn't texting all those pictures. So you want to get them, this is where they're at. And it wasn't important information, right? It was the pictures, but I still have to, with that parent, I still have to text, let them know that something's on the group. So we do all text, emails, Facebook, Sign Up Genius, and I'm sure there's others out there, and multiple times we communicate because they get busy too, right? Like, so we have deadlines coming up. I'm like emailing them the week before, emailing them a couple days before. So there's texting them, okay, this is tomorrow, we're going to be signing them up. And I still get people that don't respond, but that's okay. You figure out who you do figure out who your parents are.
So something I've learned for those that this might be new information. If you those reminder messages, if you have an event coming up, you can schedule posts, like reminder posts. So that way that, for your own time and sanity, if you're going on and putting on like, okay, here's my first post, then you can actually schedule future reminder posts so that it automatically sends those, and you don't have to be remembering yourself to like log in every time to post those. So you can get it one and done and get like a couple messages all wrapped up, and set for sending for you. That was one of my favorite things, that once I learned that, was like, oh my gosh, this is genius. This is wonderful. So
so our time has come to our end for our session, but I think this was useful. Acadia, Amanda, did you guys find use out of this as new leaders?
1000%. I could do this for like another 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm like, here, everybody brew coffee because I'm here for it. No, yeah, I was in the other section, courage, confidence, and something else. I'm sure it's in my notes. And I was like, oh, I've got to hop over. I want to hear what all these smart women have to say.
Oh, good. Well, I want to let you know, if you're not already, we have a new leader Facebook group called the Green Bubble. I hope you're a part of it. Acadia, you will get an invite for it. Since you're just starting the training process. And I think we should start scheduling more of these happening more. My veteran leaders, thank you so much for your wisdom. And don't be surprised if I dote on you to come back to keep sprinkling wisdom on us before. Cynthia, you had your hand up so politely. What would you like to share with us?
That I didn't come to just teach you. I come because I learned from the young ones' enthusiasm and their energy and their questions to help remind me what I need to be doing.
Absolutely.
Oh, Jan, she snuck in here. That sneaky Jan Barker of ours, our wonderful CEO. If you haven't met her yet, she wanted to make sure that you check out our GSHOM Pinterest page, because I'm sure all of us know how to get to Pinterest. And there's tons of activities and ideas on there for every leader to check out, to be inspired, to share with their girls of things to do for troop activities, troop outings, crafts, whatever it may be, more data for the girls to research. So I am going to look into hosting more of these sessions for our leaders, just for networking. I think there's always something valuable coming from us just getting together and doing some mind melting. And I want to thank you all so much. So if there's any last comments or questions, I love to take them.
I highly recommend that you do these regularly. These,
I do too.
I'm hard to believe that I feel like I guess I'm qualified as a veteran leader, but I know how helpful some of this would have been to me 5 years ago. I mean, we have a really great team in our service area, so I was really lucky there to have mentors locally, but not all of them have a service area like ours. So this, I highly recommend this be like at minimum quarterly to keep those new leaders from completely losing it. You know, they have the people they can reach out to.
Yeah,
Noted,
I agree.
and I
think
will
it's
start
great for-
scheduling tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah, and Rachel, I think it's great just for the new leaders, but also for that key transition period from juniors to cadets, where the girls are really changing, and what you did when they were younger is not what's going to keep them in Girl Scouts necessarily, right? It's like,
Yes, you need a different mindset. I'm learning that now. We have cadets. The things they want to do are different. You have to change your mindset on, like, how do we want to structure the meeting? Because, you know, we don't need the coloring and the little pages at the beginning as the things to get started.
I do want
Right.
to remind you guys, and we will build upon this because we hear this often. We know we need to get better on that, to help our volunteers who want to stick with our girls. But I don't want anyone to ever forget about your grade level trainings. I think so often we remember them when you're new leaders, but we need to continue them as we go along. So like our junior, our cadet training does touch on that too, but we know we can always do better. And everything we do, but especially at GSHOM, I always believe I can always do 2% better every day for you volunteers. So we will continuously work on that, because as long as you're here to be here for the girls, we're going to be here for you and the girls. So absolutely.
I was just gonna add into another form of this kind of camaraderie and way to connect with other leaders. If you haven't heard of it, or you have just never connected with one, we have volunteer boot camps each year that are, we have 2 a year that are just, I can't speak highly enough. They're amazing leader weekend getaways. And you get to check out, you get like all kinds of wonderful information. They're so much fun. You connect with other leaders, of new leaders, experienced leaders, and you have a chance to really connect with all kinds of our foundational information, but also just, I've been a leader for several years, and I'm always learning new things. There's just so many great topics and things that you can pull away from that. And some of it's not even the learning session. Sometimes it's just you're sitting and having lunch with someone and having a chit chat with someone. You're like, oh my gosh, that's the greatest idea, and so you just, it's a great way to network. And so if you haven't seen the information on that, we're happy to share that and help to connect you with that information. And I highly recommend checking those out.
And Rachel mentioned a Facebook group, so I'm a part of Cricket. Do a lot of HTV vinyl shirts and such, and I'm part of. There's a Girl Scout group for that, and everybody is wonderful and shares files. And I've already got my Nut Hut shirts planned because it's wonderful and awesome.
Yes, there's tons of great groups out there, but we want to, so yes, any new leaders, you'll know about the green bubble, and thank you all again. I'm gonna put the end to this meeting, but please be on the lookout because I'm going to keep scheduling these. I love these networking sessions, and thank you, and be on the lookout for great sessions tomorrow for our wrap up day of kickoff 2021. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great evening.